Sometimes love isn't enough. As an adoptive mom, people would often say this to me, as if to imply I couldn't love my son enough to change behaviors or heal his trauma, so I should probably just give up. At least that's how I took those four powerful words, which had buried themselves deeply in my mind, leading me to doubt my ability to parent my child. Sometimes love isn't enough. That is the truth. Oftentimes, you need love and powerful, personalized tools to raise a child who's experienced trauma and disrupted attachment, or a child who you're struggling to connect with. I am on a mission to help parents raising kids with a tricky past to show up with unconditional love and practical tools to lovingly manage even the most challenging of times. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to leave a review. Now let's get to the good stuff. Hey there. So it is Angie with Connected Parents with Angie, and this is the Sometimes Love Isn't Enough podcast. I am so happy that you're here. And I just realized that I introduced myself as Angie with Connected Parents with Angie. And I haven't talked about that a ton here in this podcast. That wasn't really my intention, but here we go. So I'm Angie with Connected Parents with Angie. And what in the world is that? Well, I am a parent coach. So I work specifically with parents who are raising a child who they're really struggling with, a child who might have a tricky past. Maybe they've experienced trauma or disrupted placement or disrupted attachment. But not all of my families have that situation. Some of the families that I work with are really just struggling to connect with one of their kids, and they don't understand why. It's so hard with this kid, and it was so easy with another child. And so I use not only mindset coaching tools, but also a framework that I curated specifically to help parents who are really struggling with that one child that they're struggling with so much. I'm also in the process of becoming a certified family coach, and I'll be pulling in some really exciting new tools that I'm excited to share with all of you and with my clients. So that is just a spec about me. And hopefully you listened to the intro podcast where I talked about kind of what led me down this path or got me started on this path, which honestly was my son. I am so grateful that I've had the experiences that I've had because it's really pushed me to go outside of my comfort zone and help you to show up differently for your kiddo and to get out of that wheel of frustration that is so common for us parents when we can't figure out why it isn't working, when we're like trying all the things and doing what the experts tell us to do and it's not working. So if you listen to one of my recent episodes, it was all about intuition versus the experts. So definitely check that out. But today I want to talk about that thought process that we as parents often have, which is, I'll be happy when my child does blah, 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 right? I'll be happy when my child stops acting out. I'll be happy when my child moves out of the house. I'll be happy when my child stops misbehaving. I'll be happy when my child can start being more respectful or appreciative or kind or considerate, or you can fill in the blank with whatever's happening in your family. But as parents, we often say those words. And if you're not saying it out loud, chances are you're thinking it. I'll be happy when my child makes some kind of change. I know I thought those same things too. I felt so frustrated, so overwhelmed, so resentful of my son and what was happening in our home that I would think and say, I'll be happy when he finally, is able to stop having so many behaviors. I'll be happy when things have changed in our home. And my coach calls this the do, have, be, right? So we often will ask, what do I need to do so that I can have a good relationship with my child so that I can be happy, right? That goes back to asking the experts. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? I know as mom, I was great at that. I was great at asking questions, seeking expert advice, attending trainings. I was great at all of that. What do I need to do to fix things in my home? What do we need to do so that things are better with my son? What do I need to do to help him through his trauma? What other program do I need to sign him up in? What other resources do I need to try? What other behavior management strategies can I try, right? What do I need to do so that he can have peace? I can have peace. We can have a good relationship because I thought once all those things were in place, once I was doing all the things and he had all the right supports, that then I could be happy, right? Do, have, be. That's how we think. We think that we need our kids to change so that we can feel happy. But I'm here to challenge that today. You shouldn't be surprised, right? I think that's what this podcast is all about. It's about challenging the way that you're thinking about your kids so that you can show up differently. Because if you've already tried everything and it probably feels like you have, then why not try something different? Why not try something totally different? Not another behavior management strategy, not another therapy program, not another thing. What if you try to totally shift the way that you are showing up? Because my guess is that probably wasn't on the to-do list before. My guess is that before or currently, what's on your list is what therapy programs next? What provider can I seek out next? What more support do I need in school? It's about all these things that you're doing for your kiddo. But I'm challenging you to be different. I know that probably hurts a little bit because you're being such a good parent. I know that you're trying so hard. I know that because I was too. I know that if somebody had told me you need to show up a little bit differently for your son, I probably would have been offended because I was trying so incredibly hard. But here's the scoop. I was doing so many things. I was doing so many things, but I wasn't being happy in my relationship with my son. I wasn't being the mom that he needed me to be because I was too busy doing, right? I had a common mindset that most of us do. What do I need to do so that I can have more control in my home so that I can be happy? What do I need to do so that I can have um, more peace in my home so that I can be happy? So let's flip that around on its head and let's talk about who do you need to be so that you can take the right action so that you can have a happy relationship. That's what I'm challenging you to start to consider how you might do that. I have a couple of ideas of things, but it starts with you really agreeing that it's totally up to you to shift things around and that being who you are being, how you're showing up is more important than what you're doing. How you are feeling, how you're thinking, the energy that you bring to your relationship with your child is more important than what you are doing. I know this to be true because we've all had that example where maybe somebody says words to you that are nice or could be perceived as being nice if there was no tone or facial expressions paired with them. But when somebody is being snarky or being angry or being irritated, but the words coming out of their mouth are doing nice words, it doesn't work. It doesn't feel right. So, for example, if your significant other or your kiddo says, I love you in such an angry tone, well, it sure doesn't feel the same way if they say, I love you, mom, right? That energy matters. That feeling matters on both ends, not just from our kids, not just from other people. It matters how we are being. And I've shared this in the past, but I look back and I am so confident that my son knew what I was feeling before I did. He would often say, Mom, why are you mad? When I was trying so hard to put on my game face for him, and convince myself that I wasn't mad, or that at least convince myself that he can't tell that I'm mad. I thought I had done such a good job of convincing, and he saw through it every time because he felt my energy. He was processing the energy that I was putting into our relationship, and I was putting that out there. I was putting out that negative vibe into our relationship, and he knew. And so I could try to fake it all I wanted, but it didn't matter. I wasn't being the mom that he needed me to be. He needed a mom who was unconditionally loving him, no matter what mistakes he made. He needed a mom who was being a mom who understood his energy and how to help him work through that too. And we're going to be talking a ton more about that in future episodes about our kids' energy and how to really understand it and what we can do to help with that. But for today's episode, I really just want to talk about us and who we are being so that we can show up for our kids in the way that we want. And I have I think two things. I must confess, when I start recording my podcast, I am not usually very planned. I don't have an outline, and I really am just saying what comes up to me, but um so bear with me sometimes. But the first thing that I really want to share about working on who you're being is about imagining the kind of mom that you want to be. We've talked in other episodes about creating a future vision about what you want life to be like. But in this episode, I want you to think about, who's that mom in those future visions? How is she being? Is she irritated? Is she annoyed? Is she calm? Is she present? Is she listening to her kids? How is she being? What kind of mom do you want to be for your kids? Do you want to be more compassionate for their needs? Do you want to have a better understanding about why they're struggling? You want to show up for them with confidence no matter how they're behaving. I know that that all sounds great to me and how I'm showing up for my kids. I'm striving and making so much progress towards really showing up for my kids the way that I want to be for them, not by default. I'm not being reactive nearly as much as I used to. And mind you, I used to think that I was so good at not reacting to behaviors, but when I look back, my energy was definitely reacting to my kids' behaviors. But now it's so much less likely that I do, and it's showing up in my relationships. So, what kind of mom do you want to be for your kiddos? Because by starting there and really being clear, being detailed about how, what kind of traits you want to have, what kind of um, energy you want to bring to your relationships, what kind of responses you want to have to your kids, no matter what, you kind of have to start there. Because if you don't know what you're working towards, it's really hard to work there, right? So, first, I suggest that you start there. And then the second thing that I would really, really encourage you to do is to start learning a little bit about your human design. This is not something that I've talked about in previous podcasts, but it's something that I've been learning about in the past year. And what I have learned about my energy and the energy that I bring to all of my relationships, all of my interactions, knowing specifically about me and what I bring to the table and having a better grasp on that gives me so much more power over how I use my energy, how I bring it to relationships, how I respond to other people. And so that's actually my second big tip for you, is to really dig in deep and understand a little bit more about you and what you're bringing to the table. Because when you have a clear picture of your energy and how you're interacting with the other people in your life, you have so much more confidence about how you can show up, as opposed to before you know that information, you're kind of just taking a guess at like, well, I really want to have better energy. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. Understanding your human design helps you really tap into that in a powerful, powerful way that will just totally change the game for how you're showing up for your kids. So if you don't know anything about human design yet, reach out to me because I would love to show you where to get started in a really simplified way to help it make sense for you. I know that I've been sharing this with my clients, and the things, the epiphanies that are coming up for them now that they see themselves from a different light has been just wild. And I'm loving seeing their confidence grow in what's true to them, right? Because the whole purpose of human design is it's a bit of a personality tool, I guess I would say, but it helps us see us and what's so incredibly unique about each of us. Because when we think about it, I started this podcast talking about how how we think that we're supposed to take certain action and so that we can have the relationship with what we want. But instead, we need to work on shifting who we're being. Well, who we're being right now, today, is so conditioned by the outside world, so conditioned. And so, how in the heck do we know who we need to be if we don't know who we really are at the core? And I know for myself, that was something that it was hard to see at first. It was hard to see who am I versus what did I learn from my parents versus what have I kind of picked up from just being in society and from the friends that I've surrounded myself with. Those things all have an impact, but really to know who I am and what matters to me and how my energy is so different than others around me has been really powerful and changes the way I show up in my relationships. So those are my two big tips for you is, like I said, if you want to shift that thought process of do, have, be, right? Like, what do I need to do so I can have a better relationship, so I can be happy, right? That puts all of our happiness dependent on our child changing, dependent on us taking the right action, which is kind of a bit of a guess if you ask me, right? Listening to the experts about what to do and then hoping that that will bring us happiness. It's kind of that same thought process about like money can't buy you happiness. It's really you. You can decide now, today, even in the midst of the chaos that you might be dealing with at home, you can decide today that you want to think differently about it, that you want to start showing up today as a different parent. You want to start being the parent that you envision in your future. You can start taking action towards that today. You don't have to wait until you've reached your goal or until something else outside of you has changed. You can start being that person today, or at least start taking huge steps towards being that person today. Because, man, if you're waiting for something else outside of you to change before you can be happy, I don't know if I'd want to put all my eggs in that basket. I think I want to take control of my happiness today instead of waiting for somebody else to change things. So, so if you want to work on being happy today, feeling peaceful and connected with your kiddos today, start shifting who you're being. Because when you shift who you're being, you'll start taking different action. That's just how it works, right? And if you want to have a better understanding of who you're being today, let's dig into your human design. I'm happy to walk you through that. And like I said, I am getting a certification, which I'm super stoked about how that's going to be so powerful for my clients. So if you want to learn more, I would love to walk you through just the basics to get you rolling. So that's it. Thank you so, so much for hanging out with me. And I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode. Take care. Talk soon. I hope that you found this episode so incredibly powerful. Thank you for joining us for Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. If you resonated with what you heard here, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a review. You can also follow us on all the socials. Check the show notes for all the details about how to start tackling behaviors and creating a powerful, loving relationship with your child, a child who needs your love the most. And if your gut's telling you that it's time for a change now, book a free consult. I'd love to help you love unconditionally and show you that you have that power within you.